Hi, everyone. I'm just going to wait for my co-host to come back. Great, there she is.
Hi.
Hello. Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to our first session of PHS Live, which is our bi-weekly Zoom series. Today, we're going to be looking at Perl, our digital repository. But before we start, a few words of Zoom housekeeping. You are all muted and we can't see you. So rest assured, you can do whatever you want. If you have questions, please put them in the chat. Our colleague Kristen is going to be monitoring any questions and giving them to us at the end, unless something urgent comes up, like we forget to unmute ourselves. We are recording this session, and we will share it out through our website and probably our online newsletter. So again, be aware of that, just in case you have any I don't know, privacy issues. We just felt like we should let you know that we're recording it. All right. So with all that said, we're on to introductions. I'm Gabriela Zoller, the cataloging and metadata librarian. I have been working with Perl for about a year and a half. I do the metadata review. I manage the addition of objects, like big batches of objects getting added to the database, and I troubleshoot functional issues.
Hi, everyone. I'm Allison Davis. I'm the digitization coordinator here at PHS. I've been working with Perl in varying degrees for almost 5 years now. Along with my colleague Cecilia, the two of us do the scanning. So all of the images and text that you see in Perl, we do that. Cecilia also is in charge of managing the website archiving for Perl.
Great, thank you. Okay, so to start, Perl is
Gabrielle,
our digital.
I'm sorry, before you begin, can you, I just want to make sure everybody can hear.
Oh, that's a good point.
Who's attending. Just feel free to message me in the chat if you're having any issues hearing and we could work it out. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So Perl is our digital repository. It's been in existence since 2014. And currently has over 15,000 records in it for digitized and born digital images, documents, sound and video recordings, which include oral histories, publications, and websites. We're always adding new items and collections to Perl. And those additions are guided by our digital collection development policy, which is available for your reading pleasure on Perl. Allison is showing it to you on the share screen. Basically, we're trying to always balance issues of access and preservation. So we want to reformat materials that are in danger of physically decaying, but we also want to give access to the most historically significant materials to users who might not be able to come to Philadelphia and use the physical collections in person, which obviously has held a particular import in the last 3 to 4 months. It's important to note that by no means are all of our physical collections in Perl, and they never will be because we have just way too many. The big class of items that is not in Perl are church records and mid-council records, so the records of presbyteries and synods. By design, those are not in Perl and are not going to be. And then otherwise, again, access and preservation are how things got into Perl. And finally, you can use Perl from your desktop, your tablet, or your phone. So it's very flexible that way.
All right, thank you. So right now, you guys are all looking at the home page of Perl. If you scroll down a little bit, there is this Browse Collection section of the page, which is a preview of some of the 66 different digital collections that we have in Perl. If you weren't to see a full listing, you can just scroll back up and hit Browse right here. So most of the collections that we have in Perl are organized by theme. So you can see church history, education, mission history. We have some more lighthearted ones, such as the Animal in the Archives collection. This is the collection page for that. It is an image collection that we have featuring wild animals and pets around the world. So some of the records found in there. Here's an example of one. This is a missionary's dog riding a bike in China. You can zoom in. Our most recent collection in Pearl is nursing history. So this collection was created, I believe, in April in recognition for the amazing work being done by healthcare workers in response to COVID-19. So here's some of the records that display a vast Presbyterian nursing history. In addition to thematic collections, we also have digital collections that relate directly to physical collections we have in our holdings. Here's an example of Bell Hooks papers. Bell Hooks was a missionary in Iran at the turn of the 20th century. Some of the content found in her collection is diaries, correspondence, but also a great number of images. Okay, another collection we have is social and political issues and activism. And just for the sake of time, I've preloaded all of the examples and collections I'm going to show you today. But if you did want to look through, you can just look through and page through. You can search in the collection. The first example of a record I'm going to show you today comes from New York City Gay Pride Parade in 1982. So that's the title right here above. Here is the image. You're able to zoom in on it. Directly below the image is where you can find the metadata or the description of the item. This is information that tells you about the image that you wouldn't understand just by looking at it. So there's a title, description, where it was taken, when it was taken. Sometimes it'll include photographer information. If you were interested in learning more about the subject name, so it's an organization called Presbyterians for Lesbian and Gay Concerns, you could click on this hyperlinked subject name right here, and it would be brought to a search results page of images that have that feature this organization as well. And if you were looking for an example, a broader understanding of homosexuality in Presbyterian Church, you can click on this topic hyperlink found right here and get even more results, including an entire digital collection that we have dedicated to LGBTQIA history. Another example from the social and political issues and activism collection is an image from the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom. Same procedure. If you wanted to learn more about civil rights in the church, you can click on this hyperlink here and get more results. Or even if you're taking a different route and just wanted to learn more about Washington, D.C., or see what other records we have related to it in Pearl, you could click on the geographical subject heading for DC right here. And there's a lot more results related to that. So some of them are different protests, some of them related to the presidency. You can see right here. Okay, so another collection I'd like to show you guys is the religious news photograph collection. So they are historical photographs of an organization which documented Protestant, Catholic, Orthodox, and Jewish groups beginning in the mid-20th century. So in 2019, we digitized a portion of this collection, part of a grant funded by the National Endowment for the Humanities. And if you're looking for more information about that, that grant-funded project, Kristen can link to a blog in the chat. Thank you. So that collection, like I mentioned, is not specific to Presbyterian history, but it is a great source of religious history and even social, cultural, and political history of the 20th century. During the scanning phase of that, me and Cecilia, my colleague, came across a lot of familiar faces, like Pope John Paul II, Queen Elizabeth, George Foreman, honestly, you name it. So that's one of my favorite collections, I believe. So this is an example record from the RNS collection. This is a non-football coach showing her students how to play. One great feature about the RNS photographs is that almost every single file came with an extensive caption. So we implemented a new viewer in Pearl to display the text transcript of the caption alongside the actual photograph. And then if you were interested in seeing the digitized actual caption, you could page over. And there she is, yeah, and zoom in on the actual caption. And like other records, you can look below for more specific metadata. Another unique feature about the RNS photographs is that many of the images came with supplementary material that were documents such as press releases, correspondence, newspaper articles, things of that nature. So this is an example record of one that has a lot of materials. So this photograph relates to a Swedish holiday honoring the legacy of a man, Raoul Wallenberg, who dedicated his life to the Jewish people in Nazi occupied Hungary. So if you wanted to learn more about his story, there's a lot of objects on the side that we have displayed using the compound objects feature. So it's easy to navigate between the image record, which is what we're looking at currently, and the text documents on the side. So you can see to the right of the screen. And you can just simply click on the image, the thumbnail image, and be brought to the record. So this is an interview with a man who was in prison with Raoul Wallenberg. And you can see here, this is the record for it. You can scroll through the PDF and look at the actual PDF's metadata below, or description below, and still be connected to the original record, which is up here at the top. Okay, the last collection I'd like to highlight for you all is the Milliken family papers. So as I mentioned for RNS, the Religious News Service photograph collection, that was digitized through grant funding. But we also prioritize our own holdings because of historical significance, or if they're popular among researchers, which is the case of the Milliken family. So they were a two-generational family of missionaries in China. So they have a lot of written material in their collection, like correspondence, but they also have excellent photos and photo albums from their work in China. You can see a little bit below here. Here is an example of one of the photo albums. So you can scroll through in the viewer to look at the individual pages here. And below is just a broad description of the photo album as a whole. But say you were interested in learning more about a specific page, there is the option to hit the Pages tab right above the viewer where my cursor is at, and you can be brought to this page listing. So you could click on an individual page and be brought to its record here, so you can zoom in. You can get the transcribed caption below and in more specific information to the actual page. And if you wanted to head back to the photo album as a whole, return to book view and be brought back to here. Okay. So those were some of the collections I wanted to show you all. I'm going to hand it off to Gabriela, who can give you guys some really practical tips on actually searching through Pearl.
All right, yay. I have successfully screen shared. Okay, so Allison did an awesome job of showing you, oops, can you see me? I'm getting a note that says camera off.
I can see you, we can see you.
Okay, all right. I'm not gonna worry about it. So Allison did a great job of showing you how you would navigate Pearl using some of the curated collections that we've made, but perhaps you have a research interest that isn't accommodated by those collections, like you're researching a person or a topic that we don't have a collection about. So what do? This is where Pearl's search tools come in really handy. The basic search is here on the home screen in the upper right-hand corner. This is going to do a keyword search across the whole database, and it's going to search all the text in a record. So that means the metadata that Allison was just showing you. And in the case of textual documents that have been ingested as PDFs, or some audio recordings where we have a textual transcript of what's being said, you can actually search the text of those transcripts or the text of the document itself. So say I was researching Mao Zedong. So I'm going to enter that phrase in the search box, and I'm going to put quotation marks around it, because whenever you want to search a phrase as a phrase, you need to keep it together with the quotation marks. So then if I ran this search, I would get one result, which is for the collected letters of Henry Smith Leeper, the China years. So a quick scan of this metadata here doesn't reveal anything about Mao Zedong per se. So I'm not really sure yet why this showed up in my search results, but I'm going to click and get the full record. So this is a publication, and like Allison showed you, you can scroll through the pages, etc. There's metadata below that describes this object. And here you have this pin, and this is showing you where your search result appeared in the text of this object. So if I click on it, it takes me right to the page. And then if you are going blind, like I am, aging eyes, you can zoom in and you can actually see where your search words appeared. And once you're here, you can navigate through this book at your leisure. You can even use this little search box to search for other terms in this book. So if I want to know what Mr. Leeper has to say about cats, my favorite creature, right? You could do a search once you're in the book, and there's this many results, and the little pins are going to help you navigate to where this term appears in the text. So that is pretty groovy. So that's a basic search, but you might want to do a more complex search using the advanced search screen, which you get to from the home page, and click on this little advanced search link, which takes you to the advanced search page. So what advanced search does is allow you to search for terms within specific fields that are in this drop-down box. So you have more control over your search. One thing to keep in mind is that, oops, actually, let me back up. So good places to search, good fields rather to search, are title and description, which are very text heavy. The subject fields are also useful, but you need to keep in mind that we use the Library of Congress subject headings, and so you need to get the syntax correct when you're doing a subject search, and I'll show you that in a second. So say my research topic is Dr. Martin Luther King. So I'm going to look for Martin Luther King in the description field. And again, I'm going to put his name in quotation marks to keep it intact as a phrase. So if I ran this search, I would get 19 results about Dr. King. If I did an advanced search for the name subject, Martin Luther King, so using the same syntax I just did, and ran that search, all of a sudden I get 0 results. And the reason that has happened again is because I haven't constructed the name subject heading correctly. As you can see, it's last name, first name, and then sometimes some dates. So again, just to illustrate, subject headings are great, but you need to know what they are before you use them for a lot of searching. Okay, and then once you're in your advanced search, another feature of it is that you can add additional fields by clicking on this plus sign, so you could build a very complex search if you wanted. So imagine that you are interested in the history of, the inappropriate policing of Black bodies in the US. So now I want to search Martin Luther King and arrest. So I'm going to put the phrase arrest in as a search in the description and run this search. And I get 1 record now, which is a record about Dr. King's arrest for, quote, loitering. Probably not actually loitering. Oops. And then if I click into the record itself, we see what is now getting to be a little bit familiar. Allison, again, did a great job of showing us individual records and these links that you can use on the records to further your research. I just wanted to draw your attention to another field set that we haven't looked at yet, which is this related item and related item URL field. So the related item field is where we put the title of the collection of which this item is a part, so the actual physical collection in the building. And then the related item URL is a hyperlink in every instance, and it's going to take you to a description of that physical collection. So if I click on this, I'm going to go to the collection guide for the Religious News Service photograph collection. So this is a description of the physical collection that's in our building, of which we've digitized a part. And we do that in order to help facilitate your research. So you might not be aware of the fact that there's a much larger collection hanging out in the building. We only have 5 things digitized from it, but maybe you want to come to Philadelphia and actually use a physical collection. So we're always trying to kind of link all of our resources together and help you know what we have. Sorry, getting my notes. Okay. So Pearl has some really good tools for helping you manage your search results if you get a lot of them. So in this example, say I do a keyword search, just a basic keyword search for missionaries. And I'm going to get 2,890 results, so that's quite a lot. So one thing I can do is use this sort area on the left-hand side of the screen. I can sort by the title of the object, the date the original object was created, and then the date it got added to Pearl. So this is very useful if you're somebody who's researching a topic and you do a search and then you come back 2 months later and you want to see if there's new material. You can click on this recently added sort and see what's new in Pearl. There's also a number of facets which allow you to limit your results. So you can use any of these criteria, and it tells you how many results you're going to get if you narrow down by that criteria. So if I wanted just missionary records of which Sheldon Jackson is a creator, there's 20 of those. I can narrow by date, the copyright status of the object, topics, names that are covered in the work, geographic places that are covered in the work, etc. So there's quite a lot of ways to make your search more specific if you started out with a really, if you've cast a broad net to begin with. So I am going to take advantage of the facets and limit this search to things that are audio tapes. So I click here and we get to the 33 results that are audio tapes. And say I take a shine to, I want to hear what Bert Bingle has to say about Alaska ministry. So if I click on this record, I'm going to get to the full record view of Mr. Bingle. And I brought this one up because I wanted to show you this transcript feature we have on a lot of our audio records. So I can just start playing the audio recording. But below there's a transcript of what is being said. So you can use this just to kind of facilitate, double checking what you're hearing. But you can also search in this text and you can use it to navigate. So if I'm scrolling down the transcript and I get to a part that is exactly what I want to hear, like I want to hear him talk about Tom Donahue, I can click right here and it's going to drop me right into that section of the sound recording. So again, a very feature-rich audio player. If we were to limit our search, that was limiting our search by the form audio tapes. And now I'm going to try limiting it by video cassettes. So now we're going to get moving image items. And the first one is Jane Pauley interviewing Benjamin Weir after he was released from captivity in Lebanon in 1985. So again, you would click here, get to the full record. And once again, there's a player embedded right in Pearl. So you can just listen to the, or I guess in this case, watch and listen to this video clip. So at this point, you may be thinking, like, how do I get all this awesome stuff that's in Pearl for myself? Is there a way just to download images or recordings from Pearl? And the answer to that is no, because of copyright issues. But we do have at the bottom of each page a tab called Reproductions, which is down here, or a link rather. If you click there, you will be taken to our repro page, and this tells you how you would go about requesting an item. We can supply items to you, but there's an intermediary layer. You can't just get them straight out of Perl. All right, and lastly, we wanted to make you aware, while we had you here, of a change in how we've managed outdated or offensive legacy language in our collections. So the way we, let me back that up. When an object comes with a title or a caption or maybe a little description on the back, or it's put in a folder that has some useful information about what that item is, we use that as the basis of our title and our description because it's helpful, it's, has the right information, and it's what the creator sort of packaged with the item. However, these are historical documents and they are, reflections of their time, and sometimes the language in those descriptions is employs terminology we would not use today. It's sexist, it's racist, it's just not what we want to, excuse me, be putting forward in the world. So in the past, we would just transcribe those captions and titles and not make it clear that that was not our own language. So here's an example rather of an item from the Sheldon Jackson collection. He was a missionary in Alaska and he dealt with a lot of Alaska natives, and he often called them Eskimos, which is not this group's term for themselves. So it's not a term we want to keep using. So here we had description male Eskimo showing clotted hair. So you may have thought, why is PHS using Eskimo? It's not really the appropriate term. It is in fact taken from this caption, but you might not know that right away, especially if you're looking at this record before you've seen the picture. So starting in January of this year, we decided to revise how we handle this material. So we are now going through old records that we've identified that need editing, and we will change how we do this work going forward. So we replace offensive, outdated language in the description and title fields by supplying our own information, but then keeping the original language because it's historically, it provides important historical context. So we didn't want to just drop it out entirely. So here's an example of a record that's been edited. It used to say Esquimau pilot, and now we've described it as Alaska Native pilot. So this work is laid out in our digital collection offensive language policy, which is also linked on the Perl About page. So you can read more about it here, including this terminology crosswalk, which lets you know which words we're kind of crosswalking to more neutral language. Okay, so we're almost at the end. Just wanted to highlight a few statistics before we get to questions. In 2019, 15,497 people visited Perl. This includes authors who've been looking for images for their books. Like there was a recent publication about the first nursing school for Native Americans, and that author used images from our collection because the school was run by Presbyterian missionaries. We were recently contacted by folks making a TV show about the author Pearl S. Buck, who was a Presbyterian missionary and is actually in part the namesake for the Perl digital repository. So we hope you join those folks and start using Perl. We encourage you to reach out to us if you have any questions. So here are our email addresses. Certainly feel free to take them down. And if you have technical questions or any questions you have at all about Perl, we would be more than happy to answer.
Gabriela?
Yes.
So Pam Frost had a question about Perl. She was wondering if you could save your searches.
No, not to mine. I have never tried. Let's see. Let me go back to, now it's taking forever to load. There is no save search tab There is a book bag that you can add items to while you're searching. But because we don't require users to log in, and there actually is no login feature for public users, you would be able to save search results in that book bag for the duration of your session. But then, you know, if you cleared out of your browser and went back to Perl the next day, those items would be lost. There are some share tabs in individual records, so you could email items to yourself. Or not items, but citations to yourself. So let's get one up. Oh, it's taking long to load, of course. Okay, here we go. See this little share guy? You can use that to send a citation to yourself. It's probably the most effective way to manage results, but no saving of searches. Good question.
Cheryl has a question about church records. She was wondering if you could explain why church records might not be found in Perl.
There are a couple different reasons. There are just so many. And they can be very capacious, each one, you know, each church's records. They're not of super broad historical significance. They are to that congregation, but they don't have the kind of across the board significance that some other collections that we digitize do, or classes of collections. A lot of our records have been digitized by Ancestry.com and are available there. So we didn't want to duplicate that labor.
And I just want to mention there are a few questions that I answered in chat privately. So if you saw a question that wasn't answered, it's just because it was taken off to the side.
Thank you.
Does anyone else have any questions?
No?
Robert asked if Google or Ancestry searches through our holdings.
Sorry, I didn't quite hear that.
Robert was asking if Google or Ancestry.com searches through our holdings.
Yes, so Google results or Perl records will surface in Google results. Ancestry searches our records that they have digitized from us. I don't know that they search anything outside of their own little database, or large database rather. I don't know if they send crawlers out into the world.
Laura is wondering if PHS's holdings, how much of PHS's holdings are digitized, and if somebody wanted to download them, how would they do that?
Gosh, I don't know Allison, Allison does like most of this actual work, like lots of things pass through her and then Cecilia's desks, but I don't know.
Yeah, I don't have like even a ballpark percentage. I know it's a very small percentage of things are digitized, but I'm sorry, I don't have an actual figure to give you.
Yeah, no, that is a great question. What was the second part of that one?
If you wanted to download something from Perl or have a copy of it, how would you go about that?
You would go to that reproductions link at the bottom of the page and read about the options there, and then contact the reference desk with your request, and then we would get you a reproduction that way.
John Walton has a question. He was wondering if GA minutes are available in Perl.
No, they are not. But GA minutes are available on the PCUSA website, I believe.
Carol has a question. She was wondering if how would one go about accessing information that's not in Perl?
Probably the most effective way to start an inquiry is to contact our reference desk. We have really great reference archivists standing at the ready. Right now, because we're not in the building because of social distancing, the best way to contact them is through email. And I know Kristen was going to put some links in the chat, including this one, but it's just refdesk@history.pcusa.org. Oh, there it is. Great. Thank you, Kristen. And then I would also say our website, check out the website, especially the collections tab, which has a link to Pearl, and then to our library catalog and to a couple other databases. So you could do some searching on your own. So go to the website and the collections tab of the website. And I should say one thing too, if we're maybe nearing the end, which is that we will be doing another Zoom webinar in 2 weeks. And it's going to be run by 2 members of our reference staff. And they will be doing a presentation on doing genealogical research using our collections. So if some of you guys have that interest, we highly recommend you come back in 2 weeks, also at 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time. Somebody's asking. Laura's asking, now, I don't know, Kristen, I'm stealing your job, but if an item is not digitized, is the metadata available online? Yes, in general, all of our collections are described in one of a couple different databases. So the library catalog, Shepherd, which is has a bunch of different kinds of databases, I guess. It describes our archival accessions, our museum collection, a couple specialty databases, and then our processed archival collections are described in our online collection guides. So there's a lot of metadata out there that you can access through our website. All right. Okay, I think we're going to wrap it up. No more questions? I'm very disconcerted also because I can't even see myself anymore, so I don't.
I know.
I don't know what's happening anymore. Okay, thank you guys, and come back in 2 weeks, please.
Yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for coming.
Yeah.
We appreciate it.
Thanks for hanging out.
Well, actually, Gabrielle, are you still there?
I am still here.
It looks like we have one more question from, I'm going to allow them to talk.
Okay, great.
Am I unmuted? Yeah.
Hi.
We can hear you.
I got in a little bit late. So what I don't understand is the vertical files. Do you go to those through Pearl too? I'm not clear what Pearl includes and the vertical files. I mean, I'm doing work in 1908 or the very 1885 in Korea. And I've worked a lot with the vertical files, but I want to go a little wider with looking at Korea in the early 20th century. So, yeah, are the vertical files through Pearl, or is Pearl encompass exactly? Where do I go? When do I go to Pearl?
So the vertical files are described in a different database, which is called Shepherd.
Okay.
Which you can access through the website, maybe you already have.
Yeah.
But it doesn't have the contents of the vertical files, right? It just tells you that there is a vertical file on this person or that person or this church or that church.
Under Shepherd.
Yes.
Okay.
Now, sometimes items from an individual vertical file have been digitized.
Uh-huh.
And those will appear in Pearl. So it's like Pearl will have a kind of very small subset of items from the vertical files, typically pictures of people that we've digitized for various reasons. So some like a fractional amount, I would say, of vertical file material is available in Perl if it's been digitized. Does that help?
Well, yeah, somewhat, but I'm still not quite sure what Perl is supposed to encompass and when I should go to Perl. I mean, would that be the first place that I start with?
Perl,
When I'm
no,
when I'm
I don't
doing
think so.
particularly research on individual missionaries in Korea in early 20th century, would I start with Perl?
No, you would start with all of our other databases because anything that we have in Perl is also described elsewhere.
Uh-huh.
Perl is advantageous to you if you're interested in a visual, like if you want to, if you want a digital picture, if you want to see what somebody looked like, or if you want to hear an audio recording, watch a video recording.
Ah, okay. So
And
start with Shepherd or start with you say start with the overall, where's the best starting place then?
I would say Shepherd.
Shepherd.
And well, there's 3 places that are equally, I think, useful, and they're all available on the website.
Right.
So Shepherd,
Uh-huh.
the online collection guides,
Online
which
collection guide. Okay.
give you descriptions of the processed record groups.
Uh-huh.
And then Calvin, which is the library catalog
Calvin.
for books, for published materials.
Okay.
And then if you ever encounter something in those databases that has been digitized, we'll have put a link in there for you. So, if we've put something in Perl from one of those, like a book that's in the library collection or an archival collection, we'll let you know that. And then you can click on that and get into Perl that way.
Okay, I see. So Perl is primarily supporting material in the form of photographs or recordings.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Thank you. That will help because I'm trying to do some very specific research on Korea, as I say, in the early 1908, right around that era.
I mean, there's a lot of Korea stuff in Perl. So I would, just from a visual interest standpoint, you might have a good time in there.
Oh, okay. Well, good. This has been
Yeah.
very helpful.
Good.
Yeah, I've done a lot of work with you over the years, but I've always been sort of at sea. So I'm really grateful that you're having these.
Oh, good.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you. Okay.
Take care.